Today, is there more to life than Call of Duty? Apparently not. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where we may not get Microsoft review copies in the future.
Did we get them before?
No, but now we still won't. Good news for Microsoft this week, as they are now one step closer to being allowed to spend $64 billion to buy Activision Blizzard King, as the court ruled in their favor against the Federal Trade Commission's attempt to block the acquisition. I read, well, let's be honest, I skimmed the entire 53-page opinion from Judge Corley, the parts that weren't redacted anyway, and if you want a fun drinking game, drink every time it says Call of Duty. You'll be unconscious by the end of page 2. We've said before on this show that it felt weird how focused everyone seemed on Call of Duty specifically, but reading the ruling, you'd really think that's all this was about, and not an enormous merger of two already gargantuan companies. And I'm not a judge or a lawyer, hell, I don't even play one on TV, but it's weird to read the ruling clearly lay out that this whole issue is about the Generation 9 console market, not the Nintendo Switch, not the PC, not cloud gaming, but to then give Microsoft brownie points for agreeing to bring Call of Duty to Switch, Steam, and Boosteroid, you know, that cloud gaming service nobody had heard of until Microsoft said they could have Call of Duty as a careful ploy to look good in court. I don't know, maybe Sony focused too much on Call of Duty because they thought it would rally the gamers behind them. Maybe the FTC focused too much on Call of Duty because it's a big franchise. But putting all your eggs into the COD basket seems incredibly myopic in the face of this acquisition's sheer scale. But hey, at least Bobby Kotick is happy about it, saying, quote, "Our merger will benefit consumers and workers. It will enable competition rather than allow entrenched market leaders to continue to dominate our rapidly growing industry," which is one of the most confoundingly batshit things I've ever heard Bobby Kotick utter, and that's saying a lot. First of all, I would allege you're hard-pressed to find any merger in the history of mergers that benefited consumers and workers. But the way he pretends to think consolidating companies will enable competition is approaching hilarious, and acting like Activision Blizzard King and fucking Microsoft are not entrenched market leaders is beyond the comedy event horizon and is just actively insulting. But hey, the stock's up.
Workers at Sega of America have voted decisively to form a union. And yeah, congratulations, you're the first major company in the gaming industry to have a union made up of employees from across different departments in the company. It's groundbreaking and a bellwether for labor rights in the industry. Awesome. We here at CheckPoint cannot run a comedy news show on good news. Thank goodness Sega wrote an email to Polygon detailing their corporate feelings on the matter. Quote, "Throughout this process, we have maintained a high level of respect for our employees' rights." Oh, do tell. Quote, "We have provided factual information and answered your questions regarding what changes with a union." Hey, Sega, no one asked. If we were standing around the water cooler and you said to me, "Hey, so last night at 3 a.m., I was completely legally burying something in my yard," I am not confident your story is on the up and up. Sega continues, "While we believe that a direct relationship promotes a supportive environment, responsiveness, and a shared commitment, we respect our employees' rights and maintain our legal commitment to the NLRB process." Sega, I get it. You're mourning the loss of those direct relationships, but man, you've been playing the field too long. It's time to stop canoodling around and settle into something stable like a salary and benefits grid. It's not like you can't see other people. There'll probably be at least 4 or 5 of them on the bargaining committee. Besides, you can't say this came as a surprise. You gave that other family you have over in Japan a 30% raise back in February, and fuck all to your American relations. I think you kinda brought this on yourself.
According to a report from the Video Game History Foundation, 87% of games released before 2010 are no longer commercially available and are not being sufficiently preserved. Sure, tons of games get ported forward or bundled into an emulator so Nintendo can justify the price for Switch Online, but that's only some of the most beloved or profitable titles. The majority are on a path that ends with being lost to time. Currently, the U.S. Copyright Office, a division of the Library of Congress, won't allow video games the same exemptions that allow movies or music to be shared digitally. So if you want to experience a game that came out 20 years ago, you have to go to an actual archive that has a physical copy or Beej's house. The Entertainment Software Association, who used to run E3 until nobody cared and continue to operate the ESRB, has other thoughts. Reminder, the ESA is an industry trade group funded by its members, which include Sony, Microsoft, Disney, Tencent, and their purpose is to run interference so the government doesn't interfere with business. That's why they run the ESRB, so the government doesn't feel they should regulate video game ratings. So it shouldn't be shocking that their president and CEO, Stanley Pierre Lewis, thinks that, forget the Library of Congress, it's actually publishers who are the best people to archive and preserve gaming history. Really, Stanley? I can't think of anybody worse. Bear in mind, he's literally saying this because companies are afraid they'll stop being able to make money on 15-year-old games. So, will properly archiving their old games make the publishers money? Well, then they're not going to do it, Stanley, and you know that.
Sega is at the center of a will they, won't they relationship with 2023's favorite scam, the NFT. In November of 2021, Sega buried a note in their financial reports stating that, quote, investment in newly emerging business areas such as NFT is important to Sega Sammy's future. But then the next month, Sega Sammy president and CEO Haruki Satomi, board director and CFO Koichi Fukuzawa, and Sega Corporation president/COO Yukio Sugino, that's 3 C-suite executives, answered questions about NFTs by saying Sega needed to, quote, mitigate the negative elements and, quote, if it is perceived as simple money-making, we would like to make a decision not to proceed. Which is encouraging, since it's not even simple money-making, just basic money scamming. Apparently, the research concluded a week later, since Sega registered this trademark in Japan. See, Sega has its eyes on making super games with a capital S and a capital G. And according to Sega producer Masayoshi Kikuchi, NFTs are, quote, a natural extension for the future of gaming. But surely the bloom is off the rose in 2023, right? Well, in a report dated July 7th of this year, Sega co-COO Shuji Utsumi made it sound like Sega wasn't interested in working NFTs into its own games. Quote, what's the point if the games are no fun? The point, according to a report 3 days later, is money, as Sega is licensing an immensely popular unnamed franchise to Line Next so they can create a game for the blockchain gaming platform GameDoshi. Does that mean they've made up their minds? Who cares? It's Sega, and clearly none of the 30 CEOs in the company are talking to each other. What's more important is the mystery around which immensely popular, unnamed franchise will be chosen for It's Alex Kidd. It's gotta be Alex Kidd. You really think it'll be Sonic? Do you think if Sega is unsure about the grift being good business, they'd put Kiryu Kazuma on the blockchain? Shit, even the Monkey Ball monkeys deserve at least to go free to play on mobile. No, the future of Web3 gaming deserves rock, paper, scissors. And you know what they say? To grow a planet full of forests takes ages. To burn it to ashes takes Sega.
And now, a roundup of news items too small to justify breaking out into their own 3-minute-long expletive-riddled rants, but too stupid to ignore, a segment we persist in calling Quick Points. First up, Peter Molyneux is back in the news, saying his upcoming game features a mechanic that's so new and unique it's never been seen in a video game before. Predictably, public reaction has fallen somewhere between polite scoffing and furious pointing at Molyneux's mobile app, Curiosity What's Inside the Cube, which promised a life-changing prize and delivered only the life-changing lesson that you shouldn't believe anything that comes out of Peter Molyneux's mouth. And speaking of people caught lying, Sonic co-creator Yuji Naka has been found guilty of insider trading. Naka has been ordered to serve a 4-year suspended sentence and pay fines of 190 million yen, or about $1.25 million US. During the trial, he famously tried to blame his secretary for showing him information he wasn't supposed to see, which he then, according to his unsuccessful defense, accidentally used to buy stocks he absolutely wasn't supposed to buy. If he breaks his probation, Naka will have to serve 2.5 years in jail, which, all told, is probably an appropriate sentence for Balan Wonderworld. And finally, on the topic of things that may or may not be appropriate, Baldur's Gate 3 jumped 70 places up the Steam bestseller list after fans learned you could have sex with a bear. The scene, which featured wild-shaped druid Halsin and vampire rogue Asterion in a, quote, tender consensual romance, was described by developer Larian's director of publishing as too artistic for TikTok after the app banned Larian's livestream. While the full extent of the game's bear romance options have yet to be revealed, at this point someone should check in with Peter Molyneux and make sure that his brand new mechanic isn't actually just having sex with a bear.
Good news. Just got off the phone with our agent. We are not on Microsoft's naughty list after all.
Is that because they don't know who we are, or because we don't actually have an agent to call?
Why do you need everything presented as a strict binary? Get with the times, old man.
I'm younger than you.
It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're not willing to have an erotically charged yet totally consensual moment with a bear, you're washed up in this business.
All I want to know is Microsoft coming for us or not?
How am I supposed to know if their lawyers are into fur?
Well.
Coming up, good news for people without a PS5. You'll finally be able to experience the dramatic story of Final Fantasy XVI as a musical adapted by the famous all-female theater troupe, the Takodazuka Revue. The show includes the troupe's signature emotional performances and beautiful songs, and is a new addition to go with Final Fantasy XVI's darker, more adult tone. Copious real-world swears!
So much news this week.
Yep.
At time of recording, there's literally an internet installer in the building.
We don't know if that means we're getting internet, though.
We sure don't.
It's been a weird, yeah.
My favorite thing about the Peter Molyneux anecdote from the QuickPoints there is that literally he said, I have this amazing, unique mechanic that's never been in a video game before, but I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Because...
I'll jinx it?
No. Because he knows that he has a history of talking crap, and then people get disappointed when the games that he produces don't live up to the things that he's said.
Oh, it's not a case of, I know I'm talking crap, and I know that people will not spend money on my game when they realize I'm still talking crap.
He doesn't want to hype people up too much and then not deliver like he always does.
I mean, that's better. The whole...
He's learning.
Yeah.
He's so close.
Yeah, the boy who cried cube, it's kind of like, we don't care about that anymore. What you should just be like is, I'm making a new game. I think it's actually going to be really fun. I hope you enjoy it. And then when it comes out, the reviewers can be like, I've never seen a mechanic like this before. Let them hype the damn thing.
There's so many things that could be a thing that's never been in video games before, and that
true.
terrifies me that Peter Molyneux is doing it.
Yeah. Throughout this process, we have maintained a high level of respect from our employees. Firm
employees'
rights.
I want to reiterate in regards to the FTC thing.
Yes.
That I don't think that personally, this is my opinion. I don't think the merger should happen, not because I actually give a crap about Microsoft or Sony or Activision Blizzard in any particular. I'm not fanning for any of these things. It's just a merger that big will be bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like Bobby Kotick being like, this is going to be great for consumers and workers. Literally, no.
No.
It cannot.
No.
In no world will this be a benefit to consumers or workers. At best, it will be neutral. At best, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
just establishing more control over, more control from a larger company over the people who are working for them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and it's like,
if you feel like
have options.
If you feel like falling asleep, I definitely recommend reading the ruling, because it's so they just won't shut up about Call of Duty, and it's like, There's more to this. There's so much more to this. And they just will not stop talking about Call of Duty. And it's like, because we were doing these stories forever about how they made this agreement with Nintendo for the first time and they signed on with like Boosteroid and all that stuff. And basically, I can't believe it worked.
Yeah.
They did it for the reasons that we thought they were doing it for, and it worked.
Yep.
So, I mean, good job, Microsoft. And holy crap, the FTC, who may appeal, they've said.
Yeah.
Really kind of. But, I mean, also traditionally, the U.S. court system does not tend to rule against corporations.
Yeah, there's this whole sense of, because they're people, right? You got to let people have freedom. Oh fuck. There's the sense we had early on where it was like, God damn, for how bad ABK has been acting towards their own employees, maybe having a new corporate overlord.
I would rather have Phil Spencer in charge of Activision than Bobby Kotick.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and
but that's just because Bobby Kotick is he's like 10 weasels wearing a skin, like
sort of like shit goblin. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like we had that opinion of, boy, it would probably be better if this was the case. That maybe if they're not going to clean their own house, maybe they need to just pay off the shitty executives and get them out of the company, and then be like, okay, well now you have new, even bigger executives that will actually exert some control. And it's like, but obviously it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, right? And it's like, we have no way of knowing whether that would actually clean up things of the company or not, or how long it would take, or who it would affect in the process, or how much bargaining the employees have at that point when they're part of an even larger company. What happens if all of a sudden they get told by the mothership that all their shit is now exclusive to Xbox, and they're like, we thought it would be different, like Bethesda did, and we're just being told shit now, and this is how things go. And it's like, yeah, you don't get to make a lot of decisions for yourself in that regard.
Brief aside about Call of Duty that's totally unrelated to that is that The Boys, like the Amazon series The Boys, is coming to Call of Duty, and as Paul pointed out, it's like, cool, we're gonna play army men. I choose the invincible guy with laser eyes. Like it seems like there's a power imbalance,
just a little bit.
Like the characters from The Boys versus very well trained man with gun.
And just as a thing for me, it's like everyone makes they have such a thing always calling me a Nintendo fanboy. But this week I did 2 stories on Sega, so you're welcome.
You weren't kind to Sega.
Was I not? I thought I behaved myself quite nicely.
And their triumvirate of CEOs.
Well,
so many people.
There is a lot of, I was goofing. There was a lot of C-suites, though, that have been commenting on this stuff, and they're all different names. And I'm just like, wow, you guys clearly are not talking with each other, or you are talking with each other, and you know that one hand is saying one thing and the other hand is doing something else.
Stop it. Show me your hierarchy.
What do you have there? An NFT? No! To go with the Final Fantasy. Why did I so hard on that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Try not to fa so much.
A little less.
If you could.
Yes.
Try to fa better.
I will do my best.
Hey, real quick before we go, I want to give a shout out to user Texan Reverend, who runs kind.social. Last week on the show, Beej and I talked a little bit about Mastodon at the end of the show, where we both, we're both on Mastodon.
Yeah.
I'm on kind.social, as is Loading Ready Run and LRRMTG. And now a whole bunch more Loading Ready Run folks and CheckPoint viewers, because a whole bunch of people signed up. And boy, it's great. It really feels like old Twitter. It's real cool. The likes don't do anything. What the likes do is tell someone, I enjoyed that post, because there's no algorithm. There is only the chronological timeline of people you follow, because there is no algorithm to bugger it up. It's great.
Yeah. Here's a hint. You can just follow a hashtag. You don't have to follow a person. You can just follow a hashtag.
I follow the Magic the Gathering hashtag, and I see a lot of names I recognize and a lot of names that I don't. And it's really, it's nice. And sometimes I'll just reply to someone I've never met before because they raise an interesting question about Commander or something. Yeah. So yeah, you can, I don't know what we should hashtag this show. Comedy, video games, gaming.
Just hashtag CheckPoint or hashtag Loading Ready Run is probably enough to kind of work on that.
Point.
Yeah.
So if you've been on the fence about Mastodon, head over to kind.social, sign up there, because it's a lot of people said, boy, having someone tell me just go to this server and sign up there was a big help for getting on board.
Yeah.
And so do that, because it's a great place, and it's not, no one owns Mastodon.
It's not costing you $8 a month.
Yeah. Though, tip your admin if you feel like it.
Yes,
Also, there's a bunch of Kind.social has a bunch, and you can move servers at any time, and it's super easy.
Yeah.
And Tex and Reverend actually will happily walk people through how to move servers, but it's very straightforward. Kind.social has a lot of, in the same way that a Twitch channel has emotes, that if you're subscribed to that channel, you can use them all across Twitch. There's no subscription cost for this, but on Kind.social, there's a bunch of custom emotes like Kathleen's from the Brave New Faves stream, or a bunch of Loading Ready Run and Desert Bus stuff, ones from our Discord and from our Twitch channel, that if you're on Kind, you can just use on Mastodon and anybody can see. And that's just fun.
The Beach Kappa face thing, the black and white thing. Texan got a hold of me last night. He's like, do you mind if I put that up? Because it's got your face in it. I'm like, I consent.
Excellent. All right. Hopefully by the time you see this, we'll have internet, but who knows?
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
And as a new addition,
Did you get my reference? I wasn't just digging on you.
No.
Psycho killer.
Oh.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Fa. There we go. Yeah.